What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Turn the Jets Live. I'm your host, Steven Zantz, joined by my co-host, Steven Russo. Russo, never a dull moment, as Joe Caparoso and Connor Rogers will say. I don't think that the news of Robert Saleh getting fired was the most surprising thing, given what's been happening. It's just more about the timing and how it went down. How you feeling, man?
I'm okay. This is weird. And it's funny that you and I this morning, like right before the news dropped, we're kind of texting back and forth about, for lack of a better, confidence in the coaching staff and confidence the team can turn it around and all this stuff. And honestly, not the news that we were all expecting from the Jets today. We were really hoping that we'd get some news on the Devontae Adams situation and hopefully a trade still comes through. But yeah, this is interesting. I think we'll really unpack this, but again, it's not surprising that it happened. I just think it's surprising that it happened in season, that it happened 5 games in, and that Woody decided to pull the trigger. I think, in the 25 years he's owned the team, he's never done this, and we've seen it, with Adam Gase, and rightfully, he should have been the one to go. I remember in that 2020 season, we were hoping that he would be canned after I think the 4th game and on Thursday night against Denver, and even that he held on, through the end of the season. I think the difference here really lies in the fact that Woody obviously, and he said it during his presser, he believes in this roster. He said this is the most talented roster that he's had in 25 years. So he realizes how delicate and how important this season is. So for him to pull the trigger on a firing like this, it's pretty surprising that the timing of it and how necessary he obviously felt this was to get this thing turned around quickly.
Yeah, it's unprecedented. The Jets have never fired a coach midseason. The only time we ever had an interim head coach was in 2021 when Robert Saleh had COVID, and it was Ron Middleton, who actually, and I want to quote our friend Jets West on Twitter, who's like, it's probably the best game plan that we saw that entire year, and it wasn't by Robert Saleh. And it's kind of a shame that Rob Middleton doesn't get the win. It actually went to Saleh, so you could actually subtract one win if you really want to and be mean. But I want to just kind of talk about this because you and I, when we first started this show, was actually the first year of Robert Saleh. We started it in May of 2021. And you and I were very excited about the hire. I think most of the fan base was excited about this hire. They felt like it was a breath of fresh air from Adam Gase. He was like a likable guy, all gas, no break, the energy on the sideline, having to be held back by all those guys on the Niners sideline. He was also like a very coveted coach. It wasn't like the Jets just like took a leap of faith. Other teams wanted him, specifically Detroit, who clearly they picked the right choice in Dan Campbell. But really what it is with Robert Saleh, and I feel like a lot of people who don't follow the team the way we do, or the fans do, or even really the actual local media are thinking like, oh my God, this is such a panic move. Same old Jets, whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's not. And I think if you actually know what you're talking about with this team, you know that this was not a panic move. Sure, you can make the argument it's like early in the season, but let's kind of talk about what this guy's tenure has been. He's been with the Jets, 3 full seasons plus obviously 5 games. If you look back until 2021, what was a huge problem that is still a problem today? Penalties coming out flat. It never changed. It doesn't matter who the quarterback was, doesn't matter who was on the team. It's those 2 things have been huge problems. Game management's been a huge problem, has not gotten better. Being aggressive has not been good. Bad with timeouts and challenges has not gotten better. And that's why he's fired today. I get it. It comes off very knee-jerk reaction because of like an embarrassing national loss in London, whatever you want to call it. I know Aaron Rodgers did not play well. I know you and I didn't do a show last week talking about the debacle in Denver. And obviously this is kind of replacing our recap show of the game in London. But I'm going to call a spade a spade. Rodgers has not been sharp the past 2 games. I think Nate Hackett is a huge problem as well. I wish that he was part of this news. But at the same time, Robert Saleh, nice guy. I've heard only the nicest things about him as a person. I think that the players did like him as a man. But it only goes so far when you have cool catchphrases like all gas, no break. You're running the stairs for the game, but you continue to get your ass whooped in big spots and look unprepared and overmatched. And that's why he's unemployed today. And I feel bad from the human aspect of it because I think Robert Saleh is genuinely a good man. He's not a good NFL head coach. He's a defensive coordinator because I've heard the arguments all over Twitter. I've been seeing it for weeks. The defense is so good. I'm like, okay, but that's not being a head coach. Being a head coach is managing the entire operation. And guess what? The offense is just as bad. Well, not just as bad, maybe a little bit better, but it's still really bad. So I know that was a like long-winded answer about like my thoughts on here, but we could go at it and we'll maybe take some callers if they want to come in. I put the link in the chat. I also tweeted it out. So feel free to join if you want to vent about Robert Saleh.
I think you hit a lot of good points here. And I think, the biggest thing was it was an easy bar to clear for Robert Saleh initially, simply because he wasn't Adam Gase. Adam Gase was, nobody ever wanted him here. He was extremely unsuccessful, obviously, in 2 seasons. And on top of that, was constantly the guy that was trying to fit a square peg in a round hole with his offense and just was lifeless on the sideline. So Robert Saleh coming in and being that emphatic, energized players coach that has this mentality, this all gas, no break, that was obviously something that was really refreshing to all of us Jets fans, and we were all excited about and could get behind. So we get this fresh start. We get rid of Adam Gase. We come in with Robert Saleh, and clearly he's had a history of success, because in San Francisco he did extremely well. His defenses were incredible. And the other draw was not only that emphatic players coach, motivational type personality that he had, was the draw of like who he was going to bring from that Shanahan tree over with him as OC, and that was a big thing. If you remember when he was hired, the question was, is it going to be Mike LaFleur or Mike McDaniel? And we were excited at both prospects. Ultimately ended up being LaFleur, who I think now all of us are kind of yearning for those days from 21-22, when it seemed like Mike LaFleur was actually doing things with a subpar cast and getting more out of his offense than Nathaniel Hackett. I always make that mistake. Nathaniel Hackett is today. Now, the other part of this is the same things that we've seen now for 3 seasons and 5 games. So you mentioned all the things. They're still an undisciplined mess. Management, in-game management, clock management is bad. They lack accountability, and you kind of think about what happened in the comments after these last 2 games and what has to happen, or what the players thought should happen, and what comes with accountability, and kind of how that maybe started to spurn this a little more. But if you dive in further, right, you look at the last 3 years, 3 years plus the first part of this season. So coming out of 2021, coming out of the actual bye week, lost 54-13 at New England. Coming out of their mini bye week, so following their Thursday night game, lost 45-17 versus Buffalo. 2022, coming out of their bye week. At this point, they were 6-3. Out of that bye week, that's the game they lost 10-3 at New England on the last second punt return, where Zach Wilson played horrendously, but they were obviously flat all game. Coming out of their mini bye that week, which we can also remember, was that was coming out of that Thursday night game. That was the Seattle game, where we got a second chance at life and a second chance to maybe make a playoff run here, and things seemed dead, but they came back alive. They lost 23-6 in Seattle. And then last year in 2023, coming out of the bye week, they actually beat the Giants. That was the Giants game. We won on a miracle, and we got ourselves to 4-3, but then we proceeded to lose the next 5.
It's just, and
you can't be this players coach, all-in motivator, guy that's supposed to galvanize the team and continue to do these types of things and come out flat and unprepared. And you saw it. I mean, listen, Denver clearly, I think, is probably better after we've seen, these last 2 weeks. They're probably better than we anticipated going into our game against them. However, losing 10-9 at home when you know what is ahead coming out of that Thursday night win is inexcusable in the fashion that they lost. Minnesota, obviously, is a very good team, but losing in the fashion that they did. Now, you can give them credit, and I will. You can give them credit, and I will, for getting in a position to have a shot to win it at the end of the game, but coming out in the manner that they did in the first half and sleepwalking through the first quarter and a half, we've just seen it way too often. We've seen
the entire tenure of this coach, entire tenure.
And it's just something that it had to happen. Now, and Connor and Joe brought up good points, and I've seen it, and I think it needs to be said. Like, the question is, how does this move fix the offense? The question is, the answer is that it doesn't, but it doesn't mean you don't make that move because it doesn't fix the offense. Like, the problem with the offense is independent. They're mutually exclusive things. There's still a problem with Salah. There was still a problem with his accountability and his motivation, the players being behind him, where that had to be taken care of. And you still have to look at the offense. You don't not make this move because it doesn't fix the offense.
Yeah. We actually have 2 callers, Steve.
I love it.
If you want to get the mid. So Brick City, we're gonna get you in here. Brick City, how's it going, man?
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're good. How are you? We want to hear your thoughts. How are you feeling about this?
I mean, it is what it is. Robert Saleh, nice guy, but not a leader of men. He's pumped up hype on the sideline when we get a turnover or a loss of down, but he has this stoic Todd Bowles face when
yeah.
things don't go well. So, I predicted last week on a podcast on Long Beach Joe podcast last week, and I said this. I said, hey man, this Denver game, I said we look bad. Aaron Rodgers took too many hits. Something is off. Garrett Wilson, something is off. Sauce, something is wrong with Sauce. I'm saying to myself, what is going on? What the heck is going on? And I said on the show, and I said, hey, if we go out there and lay an egg against the Vikings and the Bills, I can see Robert Saleh getting canned. I said, if we go 1-1, he keeps his job. If we go 0-2 in this span, he loses his job. Obviously, we lost 2 games in a row, and it was the right call. I mean, this should have happened in the offseason. We should have got Mike Vrabel in the building. I don't like the offensive line coach. I don't like Hackett. It is what it is now. I have to cheer for Ulbrich because I'm a Jet fan until I die. I've been a Jet fan since Neil O'Donnell was quarterback, and I'm 38 years old. It's just I'm tired. I'm tired of us coming out flat after a bye week, a mini bye week, no accountability. Everybody is looking like a chicken with their head cut off, and it disgusts me. And Jet fans should be pissed off. Excuse me, I'm sorry for my language, but Jet fans should be angry.
We love it.
Okay, then cool. The Jet fans should be fucking pissed off as I am every day. I got gray hairs. I look young, and I'm 38. I got gray hairs now because of this franchise, and I want to win, man. I want to win. Aaron Rodgers looked washed. I'm sorry. I love the guy. He looks washed these last couple of weeks. Something is not right. Why did Tyrod Taylor did not come in the game to try to bring a spark to this offense? Something that we desperately need. We had 2 winnable games, and we cannot lay an egg Monday night in front of Jet Life Stadium, man. We cannot do that. We cannot do that again on a primetime game again this year and lay an egg for the whole world, the whole media world to just laugh and poke fun of us. When immediately after the game, I watched SNY and I seen Q's talking to Janae Copley. Excuse me if I botched the name. And in that moment right there, when he said what he said about accountability, I said, Robert Saleh just lost his locker room. Robert Saleh officially just lost his locker room. And then, hey, 48 hours later, boom, he gets the can. So there's too much talent on this team. There should be no way with a revamped offensive line, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Brandon Allen, Jamie Rucker, forget Lazar, but even with Lazar, I mean, it's too much talent on this offense for us to be laying eggs like this. My message is just not for the Jets. My message right here is for Woody Allen, and I don't want to take too much time.
Woody Johnson.
I mean Woody Johnson. He looks like Woody Allen. Woody Johnson. My message to Mr. Johnson. Are you tired of losing? Because your little message said today that you're tired of losing, but what is going to do forward? What are you going to do for the Jet fans? For us to keep constantly spending our money on jerseys, merchandise, cheering every year? What are you going to do? Who are you going to bring in? I hope it's Mike Vrabel, but if not him, who is going to come in here to lead this team to victory? The next question I have for you guys, do you feel Joe Douglas earned his an extension?
Absolutely not.
No way. Me neither. So, I mean, I like Joe Douglas. Yeah, he has 2 good drafts and 2 bad drafts. Too much injuries going on. It's just too much, man. And I'm as a Jet fan, I'm sick and tired of it.
Yeah,
I'm just sick and tired.
That was amazing. That was like a gold peak WFAN rant, unfiltered because we allowed the cursing. That was awesome, Brick City, man.
I mean, it could have got worse, but thank you for having me on. And I have one more question for you guys. I've been listening to you guys is I'm hoping I'm saying the website right since the gangrene.com days.
Turn on the Jets.
Yeah.
Oh,
turn
on the Jets. My bad. Yeah,
No,
I've been listening to the podcast on that website for a long time, and I'm just happy to be here and be a guest on the show. And thank you guys. Go Jets. Screw the Bills. Screw the Patriots. Screw the Giants. Screw those damn Dolphins. We got a chance to win the division. MetLife, we're going to be there in full force. It's time for Jeff Ulbrich. It's a new slate clean. It's a new slate. It's time to step up and man up and get these guys in this position to win. I really wanted Middleton, our tight end coach, to be the head coach because his speech with the hit it just got me so hyped. So let's just see if Jeff Ulbrich is going to be a leader of men, or this might be, if not, then this is going to be the darkest day in Jets history. And I'm sad that I'm witnessing this in real time.
All right, Brick.
Have a good one, guys.
Hey, you too.
Thank you for having me on.
Of course. That was awesome.
That was a good rant. That was a good rant.
It's, sometimes you just got to let people cook, and he cooked. There's people in the Badlands Discord that are loving it. They're like, wow, he's just going off. And the Woody Allen thing was funny. We actually do have another caller, Steven, but I want to just pass it to you because I know I answered the question about Joe Douglas, but I want to get your thoughts on it just because I feel like there's so much glazing of Joe Douglas's drafts. Yeah. He should not be absolved here. I think if he doesn't get Devontae Adams, he should be fired. If they don't make the playoffs and do something, he should be fired because I'm tired of hearing about this amazing team that he puts together. Well, you have a new coach now. Let's see what he could do. So
yeah, I'm definitely of the belief that I think, like all in all, across Jets fans, right? I think Robert Saleh consistently got too much blame and Joe Douglas got too much credit. I think there's been good and there's been bad that Joe Douglas has done, but in no way, shape, or form can you have a losing record overall in 6 seasons as GM and get an extension. Like, you can't be absolved of any and all blame of all the things that you've done. Has he had good draft classes? Absolutely. Has he had bad draft classes? Absolutely. Has he done good things in free agency? Yes. Has he done bad? Absolutely. Like, this isn't graded on a curve. Like, it isn't the same old Jet stuff. Like, you were brought here to win. You had a lineage of winning from Baltimore to Philly. You were brought here to build a winning team. You have failed to do so in your 6-year tenure here. You also, give him the same type of viewpoint that we had with Robert Saleh. You were brought in following maybe the worst GM that we've seen in Mike McCagnon, and you have yet to really clear that bar. So in no way, shape, or form does Joe Douglas deserve an extension right now. You are absolutely right. He needs to get this Devontae Adams trade done, and he needs to make the playoffs for this to even be considered at this point.
Yeah, totally. Let's bring in our guy, Ted. Ted, how you doing? It's been a bit since we had you on the show.
What's up, Ted?
What's going
on?
on?
Mute, Ted.
Well, we have hurricanes every week practically in Florida.
Hope you're okay, man. Seriously.
Seriously. We'll
doing all right. We'll be all right.
Where in Florida are you?
Right. I'm near Tampa, actually.
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, yeah.
But not by the water. We'll be all right. Woody Allen, as the last caller said, just put 2 + 2 together. Finally. Okay. We don't have Zach Wilson, and we're playing the same as we did last few years with Aaron Rodgers. The offensive line stinks. The play calling stinks. You have to rely on your defense to keep you in games. No accountability. It's just the thing that really got to me mostly was Saleh's press conferences rang hollow, where he said, "Oh, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it."
How many times can you possibly say that?
Yeah. At some point, it doesn't ring anything. It means nothing if you can't do it, right? So I think that got a little stale at some, towards the end. I kept hearing the same thing, and it's like, come on, Salah. Like, it's almost like he was in over his head. I think he realized he was in over his head finally.
Yeah.
All gas, no brakes, all this other stuff. Ulbrich is a leader of men. I really think the players obviously respect him as a former player. And I think Hackett's going to be out. They're not going to call it a demotion, but he's not going to be the play caller anymore. Because Ulbrich flat out said, we're going to evaluate everything. And that's what a real coach would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask for.
I think if it does happen, I don't think they publicly would do it because I think that they want to save face with Hackett because of the relationship with Rodgers and they don't want to piss him off. Mm-hmm. I think it would be done behind the scenes. I don't know if you remember back in 2020 when Dowell Loggins was calling the plays and nobody really technically knew. And then it came out later that it was happening. So I agree. Maybe not this week. I hope it does this week just because I think there just needs to be a change of philosophy of how we're running this offense. I mean, the one thing that just drove me absolutely nuts about the offense, and I'm sure everyone's seen the clip of the 4th and 2, but it's just the stubbornness of refusing to run to the outside and going up to the middle. It's so predictable, and I feel like that has been such a problem is that they refuse to adapt to what the game is showing. It's like clearly Minnesota knows that you're going to run up the middle, so run to the outside. The few times that they did, it actually did work, and I'm like, why are they not building off that? They don't do play action, they don't do motion. I get it. They don't like to do that. Rodgers is not a huge fan of that, but sometimes if it's broken, fix it. I know the expression is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But clearly it is broken, so fix it. But no, Ted, we do appreciate the time, and obviously stay safe out there. I know it's a little bit crazy.
Thank you.
Thanks,
real
Ted.
Quick, if I got it.
Yeah.
We'll take a question.
You know what's funny? Didn't they activate Adrian? Was it Adrian Martinez?
Yes, they did on Sunday. Yes.
Okay. So why not use him in a package of short yardage? Rodgers is a statue. Okay. Put him in and give him a run pass option. Give yourself every chance to be unpredictable. Right? We're too predictable. Salah said, I want to be aggressive. So he's aggressive by running Braylon Allen up the middle twice in a row. I mean, I would be livid if I were the coach and I saw that.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't disagree. I think there's
that's sort of a question.
You have to start thinking outside the box. I think that's obviously a good point. The counterpoint is, suppose you throw Adrian Martinez out there and they don't get it on 4th and 2. And then you're sitting there saying, why are you taking your Hall of Fame quarterback out in a pivotal part of the game?
Yeah.
But to your point, like, it is good. And I think we applauded, Nate Hackett when really it was Aaron Rodgers that made the call in that week 2 game against Tennessee for getting Braylon Allen and Breece Hall on the field at the same time and using a little fake handoff to Hall and a screen back to Allen. But I think that's the general point, is that we just need to see more creativity, and you can't line up Braylon Allen on 4th and 2, 10 yards behind the line and expect him to get it against a staunch Minnesota defense. I think we just need to see more creativity. And I think it's the best thing that could come of this whole Robert Saleh firing is they are going to put everything on the table. They are going to look objectively at everything, at the process, at the people, and they're going to say what works best for what we have to do moving forward. We have one of the top 10 roster in the NFL. We have one of the best rosters that we've ever assembled here with the Jets. Like, what's going to make it work?
I think you're finally going to see what Aaron Rodgers and Quincy said. Ulbrich is going to hold players accountable. So during the game, we don't need it behind the scenes. We need in-game adjustments. Have a great one, fellas.
Hey,
Ted. Take care.
Thanks, Ted. Stay safe.
Stay safe out there. Yep. So, Russo, I actually got to bring this up because someone actually put this across my desk on Twitter. Have you noticed that today, I know it's only been a few hours, but not one guy on the team, any of these players, have said anything in support of Robert Saleh? I think that should tell you a lot about how this team felt about what was going on in the building. I mean, look, it could happen in the next 24 hours, but the fact that it didn't happen, after the team met at noon, I mean, I don't think that they disliked him. I don't think it was like an Adam Gase situation, like the way Le'Veon Bell has talked about it, post being off the Jets. But I just think the fact that you're not even seeing like, man, that was my guy or anything like that. I hope he's all right. I think that, maybe there really were a lot more issues than that have been told. And I think there'll be plenty of leaks that come out in the coming weeks. I know Salah's been talking to pretty much anyone who take his calls this week. So
yeah, I think it's definitely worth noting. I think you don't get post-game comments like you did from Quincy Williams without there being some underlying frustration there. And that comes from the top down. I mean, that's what he said. When you talk about accountability like that, there's clearly an underlying problem. And I think, going back to my point there, and Ted just brought it up, when you realize the talent level that's on that team, they can't continue to have the same mental mistakes, the same pre-snap penalties, the same stupid things that are causing them games. They're not getting beat, they're beating themselves, and that's the problem. So I think there's got to be underlying frustrations here that we're starting to come to the surface, and now that's why you're probably not getting anybody speaking out against it. I do want to go back to the other thing that Ted said in regards to accountability too. And Joe and Connor brought up the point. You never really saw Salah talking into the players on the sideline or anything like that, in between series, or you never did. And I honestly, I think back to as recently as this Sunday, if you think back to the fourth quarter, right, and there was a pivotal play where the Vikings actually they miss a third down and Sam Darnold's running out of bounds and Michael Clemens almost got that late hit, which could have been a game-changing play, right? If he gets that penalty, the game is over in that moment. And Salah doesn't say anything to him besides, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Those are the types of things where I'm not asking him to ream the guy out on the sideline, and I don't know what's going on down there. But at the same time, for a guy like that's had a history of these types of plays and really towing the line of getting roughing the passer and things like that. And a pivotal moment like that, like that's all you're going to say is pat him on the back and be like, it's okay. It's okay. That's not what we need.
No,
And
you should. Yeah,
I get that Salah's mantra. You don't want to embarrass guys; they're men. But at some point, like it's gotta break, and you gotta start looking at a different way of doing things because what you've done is not working.
Yeah, I just feel like the players never felt like there was any sort of repercussions if they do something wrong on the field. It's always just like, oh, they'll let it. It'll be fine. Maybe I'll run a couple laps or something. But I just think that they never took him seriously. They just liked him. They're like, oh, he's like the cool parent who like takes you to Disney World and buys you whatever you want. That's like literally what he was.
I know
he wasn't actually having any sort of authority over what was going on in the building. And you could see it on Sundays because if they had any amount of respect for him and really felt like there was some sort of discipline, if they made mistakes, they wouldn't be doing the things that they were doing. And that is just so telling to me. It's sad. Like I said, like, I don't want to bash the man. Like, I think that he has good intentions. I think I'm sure that they liked, talking to him. And I feel like he was good with connecting with them. But at the same time, it's like that stuff only goes so far and you continue to lose and you're 16 games with their 500 in your year 4. So it's like, at some point, something has to change. And it just seems like he didn't want the job anymore. Like it was very apparent on all of his body language. And I think, a bunch of people pointed it out in his presser last week. He just seemed like he was so combative and a little bit like I know, like the mopey was the word, but it's just like he seemed like a little bit like edgier, but like in a bad way and
defeated.
Yeah. And
and Brick City brought up the point about him being, emphatic and jumping on the sidelines and going crazy with the players after turnovers or big plays and stuff like that. And that really kind of, we've seen that go away. I mean, after last year with the Xavier Gibson punt return against the Bills, like we just kind of saw that fade. I don't know when it turned, but it did. And I think any Jets fan that watches this team religiously like we do, you just saw it and you just kind of knew. And he got testy with reporters and he got testy in press conferences. And it was almost like this power struggle. And it was odd. And I think he lost his way a little bit. And ultimately that got down to the players and Woody sensed it and it was time to make a change. And rightfully so. I think he did. I'll in any realm, any job, anything, it's never the wrong time to make the right decision. I think you can question that. Was it a weird time? Yeah. Same with when they fired McCagnon. Yeah, it was a weird time, but if it's the right decision and you're going to make it anyway, it's not the wrong time to do it. And you have to pull the trigger and just make it happen. And they did. And let's hope that Ulbrich can be the one to right this ship, because this is the most talented roster the Jets have had, I think, ever. Mm-hmm. And the question has always been the coaching staff, and we're seeing this in full force right now. So whether or not that this coaching staff now with Ulbrich at the helm can turn it around and beat Buffalo on Monday night is going to remain the biggest question that any of us have.
Yeah.
Aside from getting Devontae.
I want to leave with this because I know the Mets game is about to hit first pitch, and I know you're a Mets fan. There's plenty of Mets fans who are probably listening or watching right now, and I don't want to keep this going because I know it's important to people. I'm a Yankees fan, but I get it. I think the biggest takeaway I had, and I put this out on Twitter around early this morning, like maybe an hour after it happened. This is the first time that I feel like this organization has finally said that losing is unacceptable since they left that stadium in Pittsburgh in 2011 in January, because everything they've done has always been like excuse after excuse. They would just not do the right things. They would not show that they're prioritizing winning and just would keep things going and make the wrong decisions and never would actually do anything that showed that they cared about winning. And I think Woody Johnson, whether you agree with how he handled this or not, he was tired of this and he knew this is not another season I'm going to get to December and we're out of it. And I didn't do anything about it. So I don't like him as the owner. I think he's a huge problem. And I think he's a major reason why this playoff drought is extended to 14 years. But I will give him credit for recognizing that we have some time. This season's very much alive. And I don't think this is the right man to lead this team. And for that, I mean, listen, I hope Jeff Ulbrich is good. I like him. I think he's been a good defensive coordinator, but obviously when you're in the big chair, it's not the same thing. But I do think that this team is going to play really inspired and have a lot more energy and not come out flat like we've been seeing for the past 3.5 years. So I'm excited for Monday. I mean, they're wearing the throwbacks. They're wearing the 1998 through 2018 uniform edition. So it should be a little nostalgic for us. And listen, Josh Allen, I mean, I don't know, obviously, for sure, but he certainly looked like something happened to his head. He might have been concussed, but he's playing. he also has had some issues against this defense, and Jeff Ulbrich knows him very well. So I feel really good going into this. I think this is going to give this team a shot in the arm that they need, and hopefully be in first place come Monday night.
Well said, Steven. I think from an accountability standpoint, this move certainly speaks volumes. I hope that it speaks to the players. I hope that the things that we've seen over the last 2 weeks start to rectify themselves. I think we got to look at history. You look at Garrett Wilson had himself a good game. We don't have to doubt his ability anymore. I think Breece Hall needs to follow suit. And to your point, maybe this is just the perfect way to shake things up and get this team back. And I think, 2 close losses against one okay team and one obviously very good team doesn't define a season. So you start fresh on Monday night. You beat a division rival, you take ownership of first place, and you move forward and you keep going on. And hopefully, just hopefully in the next 12 to 24 hours, we get news that Devontae Adams is a Jet, and then all's right in the world again, and we'll be back. We've never left.
Well, if we would have left, we would have left a long time ago. We never wanted to
sure.
with the team. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to this channel on YouTube, youtube.com/@BadlandsTOJ. You get obviously these streams. You get clips from Badlands and some other fun content that we do. Make sure to join Badlands on Patreon. Best, premium Jets content you'll get on the internet. If you're, a War Room member, you'll have the Discord, which has been popping off all day. It's probably like my therapy. It's great. And make sure to subscribe to the show if you prefer the audio version. Turn the Jets live on Apple, Spotify, or even Amazon. We appreciate everybody who tuned in, and we will talk to you guys soon.